You're live. Yeah. It's always good when you're my age. My screen lets me know here as we're starting the stream. It says you're live, and at my age, that's always good information to have because that's not necessarily a given. Yeah, today I want to talk about it's amazing. Well, we say this all the time, but it's true. It's amazing how fast time goes, and I can't believe we're just a week away from the election already. Holy shit! For being an absolute garbage year as 2020 has been, it has certainly gone by in a hurry. Now let's see. We got oh, Tyler's in, Wolverine's in, and looks like we're a little slow on notifications today. Susan, Z Hills, Max Wolf, John Han. Let's see. Cesaro's in, Krusty Bomb, OG Grande Taco, Kevin, Nixladon, Willie, Christopher, Jeremiah, Johnny, Oink. But Oink, I like that. Oink trying off, but more swine-like or swine-like. Greetings, ape spawn. I have arrived. That's a quality greeting. I like that. Ape spawn. I can't even. Yeah, when you look like this, I can't even really. I can't deny it. But this is what I want to know. I hope I'm wrong. I'm really not getting a good feeling about the potential for violent activities on election day and directly following the election. And I'm curious as to what you guys think about that. I think obviously it all depends on how the election goes as well, but there are there are outcomes in pretty much every scenario you could list where you could see where it might be, it might not work out well, put it that way. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Johnny says, can't wait for the post-election riots. And okay, well, we've got several different scenarios. That one is Trump ekes out a victory. I don't think there's any chance that Trump is not going to get a slam dunk victory. He's not going to get a huge margin victory. So you got Trump ekes out a victory, Biden ekes out a victory, Biden wins by a substantial amount. That has a possibility. I don't think that's going to happen. That has a possibility. And I think the most dangerous of all possible situations would be Trump ends election day with the lead in the Electoral College, and then the mail-in ballots, as they're counted, give the election to Biden. I fear that would be the the scariest of outcomes. Willie says, the more I look at how much Trump is dominating from what I've seen, the less civil war seems likely, but it's not off the table. Do you really think he's dominating, Willie? I don't see that. There's a clear path to victory for Trump. There's no question about that. I don't see him dominating though. I think right off the top of my head, I think, as a lot of people do, this is nothing new. A lot of people feel the same way. I think it's going to come down to Pennsylvania because 1 week out, I think Trump wins Florida. I think he holds Texas and Georgia. They've called them swing states, but I don't think so. I think he holds them. Gets South Carolina. Good chance at North Carolina. I think he gets Ohio, Idaho, potentially Nevada. Then you get up in the Rust Belt. He's not getting Minnesota. Way outside chance of Michigan, and he's a long shot in Wisconsin. So basically that comes down to Pennsylvania, if I'm right, if I'm right there. Now, the advantage that Biden has is, let's take Florida, for instance. Biden wins Florida, it's over. Game over. There are paths. Trump could still get the 270 electoral votes, but it's not going to happen. I just don't believe it is. So there are some of these swing states. There are many more swing states that are must-haves for Trump than there are for Biden. That's why I don't see it as Trump dominating at all. If Trump loses some of his followers, Christopher says, we'll riot. No question. Biden followers are less likely to riot. Oh, yeah. Well, hold on. I agree and don't agree, Christopher. I do agree. The actual Biden followers, I mean, if you're talking, because most of Biden's true base are classical liberals. Um, so yes, well, they won't riot. But even though they're not Biden followers, if Biden loses, Trump wins. Oh, I think you'll see huge fallout in Hold on, I'm going to try and get this chat on here working again. Huge fallout in for instance, Seattle, Portland, all the places where we're already having all the issues. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can get this chat box working. It keeps, I don't know why that doesn't work consistently. Mail-in ballots are way too risky. I've agreed with that long before it ever came up this time around. That's something I've never been a fan of, just because I don't understand why you bring into it another opportunity for things to go wrong. And we do know that the mail service has been in trouble for years now. I mean, it's not really anybody's fault other than that our world became much more technologically advanced and mail got left behind. And given that the mail has fallen behind, we know that there are a lot of mistakes, and there's a lot of slowness in the mail system as well too. So I do tend to agree with that vaping. I've never liked the idea. See, I don't have a problem with being able to ask for an absentee ballot and mail it in, because that means you took an action to try and get it. There's less likelihood, I believe, of anything going wrong with it as far as just the general mailings, where you're just mailing ballots out to people. Because you know that no part of government keeps quality records. You know those things are going to go out to some dead people. You know they're going to go out sometimes 2 or 3 to a person. You know there's going to be all kinds of issues with it. At least when it's just an absentee ballot, one person requests it, you send it to one person. It's a much it's a much easier, cleaner operation. Scary Ocho says, well, to answer the question, Biden wins, he wins, but if Trump wins, riots will be doubled. The riots will be. Yes, I agree with that, Ocho. I think a Trump win. Now, see, here's the concern with a Trump win. I believe that will just set them off in these highly liberal areas right now where there's already riots going on. There's already all kinds of violence going on, mainly Portland, Seattle, places in California. Any of the areas of that same ideological mind. So what happens, though, when they amp up the riots? Will the opposing side, the far right, who has been threatening for some time to come down and take matters into their own hands, does that get them to do just that? Because that's when it would get ugly. Or will the far right be like, okay, my guy won, fuck you, you go riot all you want, who cares? Because that would be the big factor in that, how that turns. And when, if we're right, and I think we are, and if Trump wins and the riots intensify and the unrest intensifies, are the local governments going to do something about it? Because they haven't been. I mean, let's face it. Are the governors, the mayors going to say, okay, this has got to stop now and do what needs to happen? I don't know. Dragon says, with recent developments, I think Trump is more likely to win, but it won't be a landslide victory. I agree with that, Dragon. I don't think there's any way Trump wins the popular vote. Excuse me. You just New York and California pretty much guarantee that. California even more so, because I think he'll win California by substantially more than he's even going to win New York. Biden, that is. So they have just such sheer numbers. I don't think it's a very, very, very remote chance that Trump wins the popular vote. It's a very real chance he could squeak out another victory in the Electoral College, though. Patrick says, what do you think of the Hunter Biden sex tape? Well, none of it surprised me. I don't think Hunter Biden, my personal opinion is that he's not a good dude. He's not a good dude saying he's not a good dude is putting as mildly as you possibly can. Do I know that his not being a good dude has extended all the way to his father taking part? No. I mean, I think it should be investigated with what we've seen off this laptop. Yes, and I think it is. The FBI has it. I think it will be investigated. But Hunter is not is not a good dude, and I do think it. I think it's going to cost his dad some votes. I'm just not sure how many, how significant. Christopher says, my biggest worry is that Trump's followers refuse to accept defeat. Rather than riots, they may try to start war. The uneducated right often scares me. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. That's a real fear, and I think that fear manifests itself in a scenario I outlined earlier that I think has real potential. I think could really happen, which is, again, Trump is in the lead at the end of Election Day, and then the mail-in ballots come in and swing it to Biden. I think if that happens, everybody, you might want to just batten down your hatches, basically, if that happens. I think shit's gonna get nasty if that were to happen, because you can see where it's a possibility, and the people that it's going to infuriate are not going to give a shit, and they're not going to listen to anybody explaining, listen, we knew this was a possibility because Democrats, the mail-in ballots, we knew were going to weigh more heavily Democratic. They're not going to listen to that. If they think their man has it won and it gets taken back away from them, that's going to get bad. That's the one I fear the most. Cheyenne says, I don't think there will be a massive problem with voting, but I don't believe we'll know the true result on November 4th. I agree, Cheyenne. I think it's going to be close enough that we won't. It's probably better off for all involved if we do either way, but you're right. I don't think we will. To me, see, the problem I have, I don't think there will be a massive problem. I assume you're talking about mail-in voting. But you got to remember the margins have been so slim, just like in 2016. We can't afford to have any problem. Any. I mean, you're talking out of millions of votes, a few thousand swinging an election either way in certain swing states. And that's what concerns me. Because all that's got to happen. Oh, man. Can you imagine, again, Trump leads on Election Day, loses as the mail-in ballots come in, and then we find out that they uncover the fact that there were some issues with the mail-in ballots, that some people got extras or they were sent to people who are deceased or something like that. That's going to be it. It doesn't matter if there were 5 of them out of the millions that went out. That will be it. People will be off the edge then. Brian says, after the debate and 60 Minutes interview, I went, oh crap, the city is going to make me vote for lesser 2 evils, and I'm conservative, so... Yeah. See, the thing is, Brian, I'll be honest with you guys. I've told you before, I'm voting for Trump. However, just like a big hunk of the electorate is not necessarily voting for Biden as much as they're voting against Trump, I'm not voting against Biden. I'm voting against the people within his party who I feel will have too much influence over Biden. If the AOC and her crew there, if those people with those philosophies didn't exist in the Democratic Party, there's a chance I'd be voting for Biden. But as long as they are there, that is the ultimate for me. That's, again, I told you, the number one thing with the way, with as far as our government and what they control and what they provide for us, my biggest concern is any time that we have a president, Congress, whatever the case may be, in place that believes you should give more of your money to the government and let them figure out how to redistribute it. I think that hurts everybody in the long run. And again, my major concern going forward in any election is how it affects my kids and my grandkids. Again, I'm too old to get affected by it an awful lot, because any change takes time. But I don't want my kids and my grandkids to be denied their opportunity at excellence by a governmental system that prefers to keep everybody average. Chrome says, it's not the presidential election I have to worry about with mail-in ballots. It's local elections, that's true too, that are more concerning. People try and rig those more likely. I think so too, Chrome. I do think there are concerns nationally, just because, again, you're adding a lot of hands into the mix, a lot of moving parts to something as simple as going into, your local balloting location and pulling a lever. So I do think it certainly ups the opportunity for there to be an inaccurate count. But yes, I do agree with you. On the local level, it would be more concerning. Cheyenne says, I'm going to bunker down in G-Town with my soup and Oreos. Good call. The entire day of November 4th in D.C. is going to feel like a nuclear countdown to doomsday. Yeah, Cheyenne, for those who don't know, by G-Town, Cheyenne goes to Georgetown University. And so she is at the epicenter. she is where if the bad stuff happens, it's going to be happening right around the corner from her. It's all going to be taking place. Oh, Demonic Jester says, if Trump was Mexican, it would be Alien versus Predator. That's just wrong. Wolverine says, I'll be 4 weeks sober as of Thursday. Good for you, pal. Staying with it. Good. Staying strong. Glad to hear it. Crestabound says, let's be real here. Pelosi mentioned using the 25th Amendment on Biden if he wants to replace him. Biden will not be president either way. I do agree, Crestabound. I think her setting up that 25th Amendment was with an eye towards Biden more than Trump. Yeah, I do agree. I do agree with that. I think right now, the Democrats are in a spot, and really there is no other option for them. I think right now what they're trying to do is just push the old man across the finish line, meaning Biden. Just get him across the finish line with this whole shit that's coming up now with Hunter and everything and the potential connections to Joe. That's why I think, well, the media is obviously assisting them in that. The mainstream media won't touch that story for that reason. They will after the election, but they won't now. They're just trying to get him across the finish line because, to be perfectly honest, I don't think the Democrats care then, as long as he's elected. Or would he have to be sworn into office, too? I don't know how that works. As long as he's elected, I'll ask you guys. Some of you may know more about. Is Philip in here? Philip would know the electoral law than do I. I got a question for you about it. But as long as he's elected, I don't think they really care if he were to get bounced from the job because they've got Kamala, and I think they're perfectly comfortable with that. Hold on a second. Let me check this one. Then I got a question for you guys. Wolf Howling says, if civil war breaks out in America, many European countries are turning their back on giving aid. Guess that's what happens when disrespecting allies. Well, I think too, Wolf. I think more than anything else, I don't believe they would go through with it. I think they would want to help. I think initially, and I think it's the smartest thing to do for everybody in the world, they just have to back off and see what happens first. They don't want to be seen as helping one side or the other, because then you could start the dominoes falling into a world war then. I mean, anybody around the world, other than those who don't care if it takes that next step, which are potentially Russia or China, or more likely Iran, but allies around the world and in Europe, I think the best thing they could do if that did happen is back off. Say, okay, you guys hash that out, and we'll help what we can when you guys have it figured out, because they wouldn't want to be seen as taking sides. That could really escalate things. Here's what I was going to ask. Just suppose, and I'm just saying this just for the sake of argument. Just suppose that Joe Biden is dirty with Hunter. Say some of this money that Hunter has been getting from foreign interests filters its way up to Joe and it gets proven. But Biden wins the election in November, and it's like in December, let's say, that Biden gets in trouble, and let's just go way out into the extreme, say he gets arrested. Because I don't know what happens then. Who becomes president in January? Is it Kamala? Do they just does it go to his vice president, or can it not go to his vice president because he wasn't president yet when it happened? Anybody got an idea? I have no idea. That's a genuine question. I don't know what happens there. Anybody know anything about election law and everything? I'd be really curious to know what would happen in something like that. Brian says, like Chrome said, I'm actually more worried about local government. Yeah, I agree with her sentiment there. I'm buying a house back in Pennsylvania soon, so I'll be a resident there again. The way old Wolfie acts, he seems to forget he's not God.
Oh,
yeah. I agree with you guys completely, Brian. And I hadn't even thought about that until you guys brought it up. But yes, I think on a local level, it would be much more concerning. It is Kamala, Andrew?
Oh,
Okay, I figured that was
yeah.
probably it, but I wasn't sure because he wasn't actually president yet. Hmm, interesting. Wolf says, well, Denmark has already said if war breaks out, we're going to watch the fire and then giving aid as soon as the firestorm calms down. Yeah, and I agree with that. Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I think that's the best plan of attack or non-attack for the rest of the world and certainly our allies, because if any of our allies came in and were seen as taking one side or the other, that could lead to some worldwide instability. So I think anybody would be crazy to get involved in it until it was settled. I mean, just say, let's just pick a country. France is very liberal. Let's say France comes in and they see we're in civil war, and they're like, well, what America needs is some good, strong liberal leadership, and they try and give aid and support to that side, and then the conservative side wins. That would make for some interesting fallout. So what I'm saying is, I don't think other countries have much of a choice other than exactly like what you said with Denmark. You just gotta let things play out, and then hopefully be willing to help out from there. It would be Kamala, Cheyenne says. See, I wasn't even sure. I hadn't even thought of that. That's one of the reasons I like having these conversations. Scenarios, ideas come up that I hadn't even thought about. Jeez, could you imagine? Oh my God, what a nightmare that would be. Z says, it's me. I become president. Oh, well, that makes me feel better then. Impeached most likely. Yeah, that's what I was wondering though, Danny, because he would have been elected, but he wouldn't actually be president yet. He wouldn't have been sworn in. That's why I was curious about what goes on. So they could do that then. They could just swear in Kamala as president in January. I wasn't sure. That's what I was curious. English Nerd says, sorry if you already covered this on the live stream. Are you going to react to ERB? I've covered that right in the... I'll say this once so we don't have to get sidetracked on a political conversation about ERB. Just exactly what I wrote in the comment section of the video we posted today. I'm a huge ERB fan. I subscribe to their channel. I follow them on social media. And for quite some time, I've been a supporter of theirs on Patreon. When they have a video out, I know it. I always react to their videos, especially ever since I had interaction with them and they said they were cool with the way I went about doing it, because they had some issues with the way some people constructed their reactions to their videos, and they told me point blank that they were cool with how I did it. One of the things I've always done is I do not react to a video right after it's been released, because I think that's rude to the
Oh,
original creator. Unless,
yeah.
the only times I've broken that rule is I've had some original creators come to me and ask me to react to it right away. But outside of that, I always give it a few days. So we don't even have to talk about ERB. Let's see. I just want to make sure I don't miss. Yes, I got wolves. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Unboo AMV says, yo, it's snowing here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Really? I remember. Well, I think, I don't know if you've been in here. I told Unboo, I used to live in New Mexico, but down in Roswell. And you guys, of course, Albuquerque's a higher elevation than we were. And I know you guys tended to get snow way more often than we did down there, but that's early. That's fucking early for New Mexico snow. We got some
Oh,
potentially in the forecast for this
yeah.
weekend here, but that's not unusual for us. Cheyenne says, our professors are canceling class November 4th to let people go vote, but also for an emotional and mental health day. I don't think that's a bad idea. Fine, I'll
Oh,
be watching the streets from my window all
yeah.
day like a theater balcony. And I'm not a, you guys know this, I'm not a safe space kind of guy. I don't believe in safe spaces because somebody's opinion hurts your feelings or something. But when we're talking about tensions as high as they are around this election, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. Let's hope everything can remain relatively calm. Another thing I can see happening too is a Biden victory, and things are smoldering, and then people's actions on social media bursted into a flame, because there are a lot of people, I believe, in that situation on the far right that would be waiting for a signal, for waiting for somebody to make that first jump. And if somebody does, that's when things could get out of hand. Kyle says, depends on the winner. If Biden wins, then it will be like the second coming of Jesus, especially if Kamala takes Joe's place as president. If Trump wins, then COVID will become the next Black Plague. See, that's the thing too, Kyle. That's funny is, well, the polls show you too that the the enthusiasm of Trump voters is much, much higher than the enthusiasm of Biden voters. That doesn't mean anything really towards who's going to win or lose, because I believe this election is largely Donald Trump. Most of the votes for Biden, I think, are going to be anti-Trump votes anyway. It's not, so that doesn't really matter. But yes, Biden is not the type of candidate, to me anyway, that's just my opinion of him. And I'm sure there are some of you in here who will disagree with me, but I just don't think Biden is the kind of candidate who gets you excited. You know, he doesn't bring anything certainly new. He's been in government for 47 years. He doesn't bring anything new or exciting to the table. He's just not Trump. And a lot of
Oh,
people like the idea that they feel like
yeah.
through him, things can go back to not being quite as on edge. I don't think that's the case. I don't think this edginess is going away anytime soon, unfortunately. I would love to be wrong about that. But even if Biden wins, I think you're going to see carrying on for years. You're still going to have the right versus left schism. There's still going to be a lot of antipathy, and we're always going to have to tread lightly because there's always going to be the chance of that next big thing blowing up. Garrett says, as a centrist, I can choose one or other, and I still feel cheated, honestly. I almost don't care at this point because of optimistic nihilism. Yeah, it's understandable, Garrett. It's completely understandable. It's been said many times before, but in the last political stream we had, somebody had said it's hard to believe in a nation of 350 million people. These are the two dipshits that we have to choose from for president. Brian says, of course he doesn't get me excited. I'm immune to his charm. Well, Corbin, I think you're reflecting what a lot of people feel. He says Biden does have a weak leadership, but at least he might do better than Trump. I think the last portion of your sentence there is the case. Yes, I think. Put it this way, I do think, because Biden is I don't think a particularly strong candidate. If the Republicans were running anybody who wasn't Trump, outside of maybe a Ted Cruz or somebody else that's seen as extreme as him, or Mike Pence, if they were running a litany of different other candidates, even if somebody like Marco Rubio had primaried him and beat him or something like that, I think there's a lot of people in the Republican Party that would win this election comfortably, because I do believe a big part of Biden votes are just strictly anti-Trump votes. Johnny says, the thing about total war breaking out is we've been having a lot of combat drills lately. Most certainly not rated, but still a tad frightening. Yikes. Well, the thing of it is, the worst thing you can be for something like this
Oh,
is unprepared.
yeah.
Oh, Cheyenne's our stream boss too. I didn't catch that earlier. That's why it cracks me up when now I have this stream, of course, not monetized or anything, because Susan has a stroke when we stream and talk about controversial topics, which to me is asinine anyway. It's like there's nothing confrontational going on in a stream like this. We're just talking about, hey, let's be aware of what might happen, so if the worst does happen, we're not shocked by it. And I think that would be, you would hope, that's the same thing that the military and police departments across the nation are preparing for right now, is that potential. Wolf says, I got a friend from New York who is camping out in my house in Denmark until the voting is done and the fires burn out. He loves the sofa bed I have. I don't blame him at all, Wolf. I don't blame him at all. Brother E says, shit is going to hit the fan no matter who wins come election day. Like it or not, there will be states going into complete anarchy. It just depends if it'll be the blue states or red states. I don't know, brother. I don't know if it'll go complete anarchy or not. I think I do agree with you that there's going to be, and again, this is something I hope I'm wrong on, but I think there's going to be significant fallout regardless of who wins. Fallout like we probably haven't ever seen before over an election. That's unfortunate. But well, again, we know what's going to happen if Trump wins, because you still have violence going on in Portland and Seattle, and you have protests continuing daily, and things being burned and bottles being thrown and Molotov cocktails. So all that would do is just intensify that greatly. And then, as I had mentioned earlier, what you have to worry about at that point is if that happens and the powers that be, the governor and the mayors, are still unwilling to do what's necessary to bring that under control. Are these militia groups, so on and so forth, that have been threatening to come get Antifa, are they going to come get Antifa? That's what would be concerning. Willie says, I won't accept Biden's victory, not because I'm an open Trump supporter, but because my dad's a cop. We have already had riots nearby in Denver. If Biden wins, I fear for my family's life. I understand that, Willie. I do completely understand that. Krusty says Susan has a stroke, in quotes, implication to Joe Biden's mental state. Cheyenne says Trump telling people to stand by has become the calling card for wannabe military spec ops, white supremacists everywhere. I don't disagree with that, Cheyenne. And whether Trump meant it that way or not, that's clearly how they're taking it. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Well, think about it. We had this plot that the FBI foiled to what the hell is it? To get Gretchen out there in Michigan, the governor of Michigan. We had that foiled by the FBI, and it's all fine and good, that the FBI was on top of that and could take care of it. But with as much unrest as there is, and as many small organized militia-style groups as there are in this country, and there's a lot, you goddamn well know just because they caught that one, there's a lot of shit going on from groups that are smart enough to have flown under the radar, and that's what's scary. Brother E says, I was reading this article the other day stating the national minimum wage for most states should be $25. As much as I agree it's not financially possible for most businesses to provide those. Oh, that would destroy the economy. The economy would be in a complete shambles within 2 months after that was. And what do people think that's going to accomplish? See, this is what people don't understand when they talk about ridiculous minimum wages like $25 an hour. So if you make the minimum wage $25 an hour, you think the cost of living doesn't go up along with it? You think everything else stays status quo and just wages go up? I mean, what level of stupid is that? The economy will always adjust. So if $25 an hour became minimum wage, it just means you're going to be buying a gallon of milk for $7.50. That's what's going to happen. It's not hard to figure out. Chrome says, I'll put it honestly, no one in this chat tries running for a political position. People complain about their representatives but refuse to try and represent themselves. So what do you expect? Well, yes and no. I do think, though, Chrome, that I think people have a right to complain about the people that they voted for or voted against, simply because just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you have to actually be a politician. You got people that have their own careers in life, and all of our lives are affected greatly by our politicians. So I don't know that I agree with that. I don't think you need to have run for a political office at any level to be able to be loud with your opinions. Again, people have lives. They've got their own careers to worry about, and the politicians that are elected have a great and significant influence on those lives and businesses. Nick says minimum wage should have been pegged to inflation from the start. It's not kept up at all now, and it's tough to correct. Right. I do agree with Nick. I don't even know where it stands now. Nationally, the minimum wage as of a few years ago was still 7 and change, wasn't it? Have they corrected? Because it's become a thing. The reason I don't know, and I know a lot of people don't know what the national minimum wage is, because that's handled more on a state level anyway. However, that's the best way to do it. Minimum wages should be handled as locally as possible, because we're a perfect example. Where I live in upstate New York, we're a very, very depressed economy, very poor. These two counties that are neighboring right here where I live just about on the border, are very depressed and very poor. Go 150 miles south, you're into New York City, where a $15 an hour minimum wage buys you nothing. Here, $15 an hour, $600 a week before taxes, you ain't going to live like a king, but you can get by up here. You can still rent a decent small apartment and stuff up here for $750 a month.
Yeah.
And that same apartment down in New York City is going to rent for $3,000. So obviously you have to have different minimum wages. But all that said, yes, the federal minimum that federal minimum saying, okay, you can't go any lower than this has not moved in years. I don't think we have an economy that will absorb it going to 15, but it could easily be at 10 to 11. Yeah, it could easily be at 11. I think. I mean, just off the top of my head without actually doing the numbers. Because I look at the businesses around me in this very depressed area, and I think they could absorb an $11 an hour minimum wage because most of them are paying at least that now anyway. Cheyenne says, I don't think Trump's smart enough to give people a hint to stand by as a militia. I don't either, Cheyenne, to be honest with you. My actual spec ops friends shake their heads at these wannabe dudes acting like this is the coming of the real purge. Yeah. And well, and you know what it is, Cheyenne? And I agree with you there. The thing we have to worry about, though, is we can't, and I think this is very important, we know that a lot of these guys that see themselves as the defenders of what is right and moral and just in these little organizations, a lot of them are, 300-pound fat guys who drink a lot of beer and watch football on the weekends. But those guys also can be crazy. And knowing some of these types of people personally, they're the type that spend all their time doing nothing but honing their skills with guns and honing their skills and running scenarios through their minds and with their buddies about, okay, if we get invaded, this is what we do. That's scary. These guys, as much as we'd like to go, yeah, these goofballs, you can't really poo-poo them away. If push came to shove, they're going to be a problem. Not to, like, your friend, I mean, not a potential threat to, like, your friend's legitimate spec ops people, but I mean in general. Soder says, talking about the same thing, I think those people are in the minority thinking he meant them to do it in a more literal sense. I think what people are mad about is him saying this irresponsible to white nationals. Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion on that, Soder, is I'm with Cheyenne. I don't think he did it intentionally. I think he puts, both our candidates put their mouths in gear before their brains way too often. And again, I don't know what's in somebody's heart. I could be wrong, but I don't think he did that intentionally. But that was clearly a really piss poor choice of words, and it definitely got some people riled up. Christopher says, Curtis, someone working upstate New York. I'm minimum wage is almost 12. Oh, okay. I think I'm in the poor county next to you. Essex County sucks. Well, we're Fulton and Montgomery, Christopher. Yeah, so you're not far away. Is it 12 or almost 12? See, that seems fair. That's what I was saying. 11 in that range, but that extra $3 an hour to get to 15. A lot of the businesses up here can handle it, but it would put a lot of them out. It would put little mom and pop pizza joints, things of that nature. It could put them out of business. They work on that fine a line. Eric says they're pussies to their cores. Huh? Hey, Eric, if that's what people want to go around believing, that's fine. I'm no fan of theirs. I'm just saying, if push comes to shove, you don't want the fact that you think they're pussies to be the difference between life and death. Put it that way. I get by okay with what I make now, but it'd be fucking place in New York or LA. Exactly, gone. Yeah, that's what I mean. But that for the most part is how it's done, and that's why I don't understand why they make such a big deal about it. Because you do have $15 minimum wage in New York and Seattle and a lot of the big cities. And for the most part, they can handle it. When they raised it to 15 in New York, it did put some businesses out. We know that. But for the most part, they can get by. But again, if you do it here where I live, it's just not fair to the small business owners. They're going to be toast. Let's see. Roberto says presidential candidates should be elected by the most logical and fair method, by challenging each other to a children's card game. I'm all for that, Roberto. That or a cage match, one of the two. But I think a children's card game. Oh man, and if we and think about which in this particular children's card game with these two contestants, who gets to proudly proclaim my hair? Because neither one of them have impressive hair. Oh, that would create a lot of consternation. Money More says Biden's winning, so the fallout won't be too bad. The right know how to handle it. I think on both sides, money. I think the majority of people know how to handle it. We just have to worry about the fringe lunatics on either side. They're the ones that, if something bad happens, that's who it's going to start with. Are the fringe psychos, and you have to worry about on both sides again. You get those fringe nuts getting something started. And you just have to be concerned about how many people who are otherwise normal, regular Joes and Janes getting swept up into it because of the vitriol that's been being exchanged between the right and the left for so long here in this country. Chrome says if the minimum wage is raised to that, the most jobs are replaced by robots. Absolutely. There's already fast food places partly run by robots, and I wouldn't blame them for it. No, I wouldn't either, Chrome. Absolutely, you're right. It's the thing. Those are entry-level jobs. I don't know where somebody all of a sudden decided that working in fast food was supposed to pay you a living wage. Nowhere do I remember anybody being guaranteed anything in a job other than what you signed up for. If you fill out that application, they say, okay, pay rate here is $12 an hour, and you say, okay, you accepted that wage. You didn't have to take that job, but they are entry-level jobs because you don't need any skills. And let's face it, you see the difference. How many of you guys, okay, let's put a percentage out there. When you, and mine's going to be really high, I'll tell you why. Seriously now, we all go to fast food joints. If you put in a decent size order, say you're getting food for at least two of you, what percentage of the time would you say that your order is 100% correct, that they got everything right in your order without you either finding it out later or having to correct it at the time? Just hit me with percentages. Fast food across the board. What would you say? Cheyenne says, I was in Ukraine during elections surrounded by real neo-Nazis, a massive nationalist movement in war with Russia. Yikes. I don't see that in the U.S. right now, but you're right. Don't underestimate people. I don't either, Cheyenne. I think you and I are like right down the line with what we're seeing. I just think that people make a mistake when they poo-poo away some of these fat guys eating chips on their couch because they might not look like much of a threat, but you're talking about people, because I know some of them, that think about this all the time and have been planning for this for years, and they would be a significant issue. And it's always bad to underestimate your opponent. 99%, 99%, 60 to 70%, 95, 60, 70. I was going to say, I'm right with you, Z. I was going to say mine, and I'm being fair. I'm not exaggerating. 60 to 70% of the time. Chrome says 60. Kakashi, 60 to 70. They forgot my shake at Burger King yesterday. My rage is still burning gone, says. Charles says, this is not even a joke. More than half the time I never get a straw for my drink. Exactly. It happened to me today. I had to go out and do some errands. I hadn't had breakfast yet, so I ran through Dunkin' Donuts, another fast food joint. I get the same thing all the time, especially when I'm trying to eat properly. I asked for, now, guys, this is the conversation that took place. I know it's hard for me to get my sandwich right. I said, I want a ham and egg, no cheese, on a plain bagel. She repeats it back. Okay, no, that was ham, egg, and cheese. I said, no. Ham, egg, no cheese. I don't want any cheese on it, on a plain bagel. Okay, what else? Apple juice. Okay, so I have a ham and egg, no cheese, plain bagel, apple juice. Thank you. I get headed down the road. Didn't have time to look first. I had a lot to do because I was going to eat. I'm eating on the run. Pop it open. There's the American cheese slapped all over it and no egg on it. That's why you're paid less, because you are wrong an unacceptable amount of the time. You're new to the workplace. You don't have any real qualifications for anything, and you're not an efficient employee. So you don't make as much as people that have proven that they can be all those things. And exactly, and at least give you a straw, like Charles says. And that was just today. Ben says 99%. And you guys know, because I've told you about how cheese, specifically American cheese, is absolute the epitome of evil to me. And I don't eat condiments. You would think when you go to a fast food joint, ordering something plain, whether it's my burger or my chicken sandwich or whatever it is, And I always I get specific. I don't just say plain. I'll say plain, just meat on the bun, please. Wouldn't that be the easiest thing in the world? I cannot get it. I always have to check because there's always that nasty ass American cheese melted onto the burger or something. And that's why you're not getting paid a high rate. It just is. Lick says, just stop going to McDonald's, problem solved. It's just that those fast food joints, Licks, they become such, I mean, I'm guilty of this all the time. They're just so convenient. And I keep a fairly hectic schedule. And just like today's a perfect example. I knew I was going to be eating on the run. So it's like, okay, this is a good place. I can go get a sandwich. It's got the ingredients that I want, just an egg, some ham, plain bagel. Boom, that fills me up, makes me feel good for the day. And can't get it. Z says 68% of the time they get it right. 68% of the time they get it right. 100% of the time. Pretty much. See, it's and the thing of it is, and that's understandable. That's the nature of that business. But that's why those are entry level jobs, and that's why they don't pay a lot of money. When you get skills, when you have references. That's how you move your way up the ladder. I started in fast food like a lot of us did. I didn't deserve to get paid anything more than the few bucks I was getting. I didn't know a fucking thing. I wasn't that much use to an employer. Chrome says, whenever I go to the U.S., fast food places are run by the dumbest people I've ever met. Like, seriously, they seem worryingly stupid compared to the average Scottish fast food worker. Is there a reason for it? I don't know. For me, Chrome, around here where I go regularly, it really varies by chain. I am surprised in my local area that anyone goes to McDonald's if they live here, if they know what they're in for. Because I'll tell you, I was just commenting to my wife about it the other day. I got to give them credit. Wendy's and Burger King, over the last probably year or so, I don't know if both of them have made changes in their training, what they've done, are entirely different than the typical fast food experience. They're way more efficient. They are so friendly all the time. And since the pandemic, they only have takeout or drive-through. They're like, boom, boom, boom. And McDonald's is still the same sloggy mess it always was. You wait forever. The order's always wrong. They act like you're pissing them off by being there. I don't understand how anybody that lives here, where I am, I can't understand why when you need fast food, anybody would not drive the few extra miles and go to Wendy's or Burger King rather than McDonald's, because it's just night and day the difference here. I don't know if that's true throughout. You guys have a similar experience or no? It could just be ours are like that. Now, Trev said the same thing. Trevor says Burger King is amazing and I respect it. Yeah, I mean, and if they do make a mistake, that's the big difference, because I still get stuff wrong, not as often at Burger King, but if they do make a mistake, they put cheese on my burger and stuff. I walk around, go back in, and they at least take ownership of it. Because the manager, the last time it happened to me, came right up and goes, "Oh, sir, I'm so sorry that happened." Blah blah blah. And seeing that I was a fat guy, probably had something to do with it. Said, "Here, we'll throw." She threw one of those Hershey pies in for the inconvenience. And you now, same thing happens at McDonald's. You bring it back in and say, "Jesus Christ, I just asked for no cheese. The burger's no good to me if I get cheese on it." And they're pissed off. They're like, "It's your fault." They're like, make me another quarter without cheese. And it's like, listen, it's not my fault you're fucking stupid. Brian says, my first corporate job was McDonald's. I told them you're paying too much at $7.25 for 5-hour shifts. And yeah, it's not that hard to include a damn straw. Happened to me like 5 times in a row. That's what I mean. And that's the thing. We had one young woman, by my standards young, she's probably as old or older than most of you. She worked at our local McDonald's, and I told my wife she's not going to be there long. There's no freaking way she's going to be there long. Because every time I would go in, she was always friendly and nice, and you could see her putting the order together, and you see her going through, matching it up to what's on the screen or what's on the receipt, looking in the bag, making sure it was right, I said, she won't be there long. She lasted probably, that I saw her, 6-7 weeks, because she's a good employee. Good employees get that work reference. Other people, hell, even other people come into a restaurant. There are employers that come into fast food joints all the time. They see somebody working like that. You don't think that goes on all the time? They're like, hey, why don't you come over to my place and fill out an application? That's what happens. You don't stay at that job because you're a good employee.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got here. Charles says, Chick-fil-A in my area are the best fast food. Oh, see, we don't have any right around us. I love Chick-fil-A. In my area is the best fast food joint when it comes to getting food quickly and from people with good attitude. Got no idea how Mickey D's the most popular with the worst ethic. They are, too. It's a horrible work ethic. Yeah, I like Chick-fil-A, Charles. We just don't have any around us, any close to us all. I really enjoy Chick-fil-A. What is it? What is their catchphrase? Because, oh, gosh. RDC World One's always making fun of that, their catchphrase. It's my pleasure, right? Isn't that what Chick-fil-A always says? It's my pleasure. I love the RDC World 1 guys. Oh, that's a good. Ocho, you're right. Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, and Five Guys customer service are pretty good. Yeah, the Five Guys around us are excellent too. Really, really good too. And yeah, well, it's funny. You mentioned that. I was just talking about how the experience of going to Five Guys just went up by Braxton's College. And him and his pal up there and we went out. We were doing some stuff. We came back. I bought them some food, and we're in there in Five Guys, and we'd made our order, and we're over there waiting for it to be done. And I was looking at their drink fountain there, and they have Mellow Yellow. I fucking love Mellow Yellow, and I'd forgotten about it. And they have it in the sugar free because I like the sugar free drinks. So I said, "Oh, hold on, guys, I got to go back and get one." And I go back up to the counter, and I told the kid back there. He goes, or actually, the kid that was working the register, which is another sign of good customer service, was making some shakes. So another kid comes around from behind where he was cooking. He was in the food prep area. And he says, "Can I get you something else, sir?" I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "I forgot you guys got this Mellow Yellow, no sugar." I said, "I got to have one of those." And he looks at the kid doing the shake and he goes, "Oh my God." And I didn't know what they were talking about. And the kid putting the shakes together, he's like, "Yeah, told you, yeah." And he's like doing a little dance. Come to find out the kid's a big Mellow Yellow fan. And the others apparently all make fun of him for it. But all I'm saying is it was a welcoming atmosphere. Like you were let in on a little inside joke that was going on in there. And it was just entirely different than what you get at McDonald's. Let's see. I do have seen that though. I believe that's got to be a thing. I do know a lot locally. The fast food joints are paying much better, most of them. So I'm wondering if that isn't part of the deal. It's like okay, and this is just my assumption. At Burger King, at Wendy's, they're saying, we're giving you more money than we've ever paid employees before. All we're asking you to do, make this a pleasant experience for the customers. I'm assuming that's what it is because certainly it's a big change. Zaxby's is the only fast food joint, Johnny says, that has never given me any problems. They're the best. I've never been to a Zaxby's, Johnny. We don't have any around us. I've heard of them, but I've never been to one. Let's see. We've talked way more than enough about the new ERB, and we're not going over it again. Rick says, don't eat fast food. That being said, my local deli once gave me a plate full of garlic bread when I asked for a margarita pizza. Yikes. Well, that's close. And I love garlic bread, but not in place of my pizza. That would be a problem. Gon says, that's what I don't get about commies. Share the wealth. Why should a dumbass flipping a burger get anything close to what a doctor gets? Right. Right. And the thing, even not even necessarily a doctor, Gon, but somebody that's put time and effort into the workforce and proven with a track record that they bring something to the table for you. Even, I don't care what it is. If it's working on a construction crew, it doesn't have to be skilled labor. It's just you're showing that, that you want to work, and you want to. You're going to show up to work every day. You call back to that McDonald's. When the new employer calls back to that McDonald's and they say, "Yeah, so and so he was here every day. He came in on time, never late." That's what happens. Then the construction company who pays a lot more says, all right, well, here, you can come here. And I'll tell you what, you're going to start off, you're going to flag traffic for us. But if you do a good job at that, we'll get some of our guys aside and we'll start teaching you how to drive the trucks. Then if you learn how to do the trucks and we're comfortable that you're good and you're safe at that, we'll put you in one of the trucks and you're going to make a lot more money. And if that's not enough money for you and you do a good job driving the trucks, we'll have that guy in the bucket loader start teaching you how to run heavy equipment. And if you can run heavy equipment and you can prove to us that you're safe and you're somebody we can count on, we'll pay you a lot more money to do that. That's how the system works. That's exactly how it works. But we've got a part of society now that doesn't believe in working your way up to anything. It's like, no, you owe me something now. It doesn't matter that I'm a shit employee. It doesn't matter that I get 50% of the orders wrong that I fill at McDonald's. You owe me a certain amount of money just for existing, and I don't agree with that. If a Walmart stocker don't get 25 an hour, then the troops don't either. If as a Walmart stocker don't get 25 an hour, then the troops. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mr. Yolo. I don't know. You got to be more clear. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Let's see. Dalton says, I am considered a democratic socialist by definition, but I do not agree with $15 an hour minimum wage. No, right, Dalton. And I'm assuming I'm going to go on a limb here, and for the same reasons we talked about. Because $15 an hour minimum wage can work, but it's got to work by locality. Again, it works in New York City. I'm just 3 hours to the north. It won't work. I mean, it'll work here, except that we'll be driving to get a pizza or anything because it'll put all the little local places right out of business. They just wouldn't be able to afford it. They can't do business without employees, and they can't raise their prices enough and keep a customer base to pay employees $15 an hour. Chrome says, I wouldn't trust the fast food workers I saw in Florida behind heavy machinery. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly, and you make the point for me, Chrome. That's why some of them are still in fast food. Because if you want to get out of fast food and you want to make more money, you have to be that good employee, and you have to be conscientious, and you have to show up on time, and you got to want to do a good job for the customer, because then when you go out to get that other job and that's the reference you have, that's how the whole thing starts falling into place for you. Let's see. Luminary says, because millions of people are unable to get better jobs. Andrew Yang explains a lot better than I can. I've heard Andrew Yang. I've not heard him explain it to me why millions of people can't get a better job. There are plenty of jobs out there. And the fact that, again, that's just a general statement. You're not backing it with any sort of real data. You're just saying millions of people are unable to get better jobs. I've been in the workforce since I was 16. I started out in those types of jobs. As I got work experience, I never had problems moving up. I know a lot of the kids that graduated with Spaz Kid that didn't go to college. Some of them worked at our local McDonald's. They're all gone. They've all moved up to better jobs. Actually, one of the ones I was thinking about when we were talking about the construction thing. It depends. I think there are plenty of jobs out there. It depends on your standards. If you're going to say, well, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, I can tell you right now, because it was the industry I was in. The truck driving industry, the money has gotten really, really good. It's not hard to get training in that industry. The money is good because everybody's on a CDL, a federal license now, and you are going to be drug and alcohol tested, and a lot of people don't want to do that. So you can go into that right now, and there's places hiring all over the place and make a shit ton more money than you do at McDonald's. So the jobs are there. It's a matter of whether or not the people want to try and go get them or not. Mr. Rippis says minimum wage in Oklahoma is $7.25. What a joke! Is that still the national minimum wage? I knew it was, Mr. Rippis. That I agree. Yeah, they haven't. If that's the case, that's still the national minimum wage. Then they haven't moved that in years. That should be, again, at least $11 an hour. I think. I don't know. And again, I've got a good base to speak on because our economy here is so depressed. And I know that some of the little local places here are giving $10 and $11 an hour and surviving. And if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere, because again, there is no money here. It's really, really economically depressed where I am. Let's see. Mr. Yolo Dick Swagger says, I'm a Walmart stocker, and if I don't get 25 an hour, then the troops don't either. I don't know. I don't think the troops get anywhere as close to that. But what would a Walmart stocker have to do with the troops? Why would those two wage rates be comparable in any way? I mean, if the troops are getting that, why can't you join the military if you want that money that they're getting? That's how the system works. If you see a job that pays better, go get it. I don't understand what you're trying to draw as a comparison there. Let's see. Millions don't have the education required for better jobs. Millions are formally incarcerated and can't get anything better. Millions have disqualifying things to prevent them from getting better. Disagree. You don't have to have an education to get a good job. There's a lot of blue collar work. I did it. There's a lot of blue collar work that pays substantially. My daughter has a 4-year degree in business from a very reputable school. And before I retired, I was making substantially more than she was in the blue collar world. Absolutely untrue. And it's also true that in general, blue collar benefits are better than white collar benefits. Millions are formerly incarcerated and can't get anything better. I worked right alongside people that had, as a matter of fact, my friend Bob, who unfortunately just passed away years ago, used to make jokes about his prior. He had felony for he was a drug mule basically. He used to work right beside me, making the exact same rate I was. Millions of disqualifying things. See, this to me, prison, that just sounds like a lot of excuses. It's not even from own personal experience. I can say that's not true across the board. You don't need a minimum education outside of high school. You don't need a minimum education to get a decent paying job, depending on what you want to do with your life. You are not disqualified. And there are a lot of programs in place to make sure that ex-cons are not discriminated against. There's plenty of places you can get work as an ex-con. Again, in the fields I worked in, I worked right next door to them. Same thing when we would do jobs, because I worked for a municipality, we would call in construction companies to help us with the bigger jobs. There are a lot of ex-cons on those crews, and those guys are making $30 an hour. They would work weekend on a big job. They'd work weekends. Sometimes they're getting double time on the weekends at $60 an hour. That's not true. Not Bad says, hope you're having a great day. Keep up the amazing content. Well, thank you, Not Bad. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Very kind to you. Let's see. Chrome says, now I can think about it as a quote from Parks and Recreation. Capitalism, God's way of determining who is smart and who is poor. Chrome says. Z says, sure, raise the wage. Businesses would respond to the increased cost by reducing employment. Yeah, that's very true. Particularly for low-skilled workers. Some businesses may pass the higher cost on to consumers. You're 100% right, Z. Well, we don't have... If you're going to do something like you say, like setting up, we had talked about this earlier if anybody just came in, trying to set some sort of insane minimum wage like $25 an hour, obviously it's not going to work. And for all the reasons that are outlined here. First of all, things would go automated like this, especially fast food. Anything that could be automated would be, because now the people who run these businesses are business savvy enough to know, okay, I got to spend $1 million to put in the automation, but at that rate, it's going to pay for itself in just a few years and it'll be over. And the ones that can't automate are absolutely going to pass that along to the consumer, and that has the ripple effect throughout the whole economy. Daniel says, Curtis, can you believe it, though, that there are those who think socialism is better than capitalism? A lot of people, apparently. Look at Switzerland. You legit have to pay close to 51% of your income for taxes. Yeah. And as I said, Daniel, when it comes to politics, everybody has their own, I guess, political pet project, pet peeve, however you want to say it, or issue that's very important to them. My number one issue is I won't vote for anybody. I won't vote for any situation, any politician who suggests that it's a good idea to give more of the money you earn to the government so the government can figure out how to redistribute it back. That will never be something I will support in any way, shape, or form. The government has proven over and over again that they can't be trusted to do it properly. And to me, it's just insulting. I think I can handle my money just fine and make my way in a free and open market. Now, government should be there to regulate an open market, because there are people who, without laws and without guidelines, would take advantage of us. But that's what government, to me, is supposed to be there for, to make sure that the playing field is even. Just keep it even for everybody, and let us keep our money, and let the market do its job of weeding out those who are not giving you a good bang for your buck. Ojo says education is overrated when you have social media, YouTube, and OnlyFans. True. And the thing is true too now, And when you do want education, there are so many more viable ways to get it. Now, depending on what field you want to go into, of course, there are so many legitimate, useful degrees that can be obtained online now, too. And a lot of people, oh, Brian Streamboss, I apologize, guys, for not keeping up on Streamboss here. A lot of people, as we talked about before, just don't make smart buying decisions with their education. It's not like it was 20 years ago where, 20 years ago, where you had online education out there, but people would be like, you got your degree off the computer. There's none of that anymore. People have come to realize that, hey, a lot of degrees, you don't need in-person classes to get a quality education. Hell, look at COVID's here. We're doing it all across the board now. So that lessens the cost significantly of someone being able to get a degree. Lix says, stop censoring my unfunny jokes. Got to be Susan, Lix. Got to be. It's just getting worse and worse. Chrome reached out to me and was telling me that I'm glad you brought that up, Lix, because I wanted to share this with you guys. It seemed like a hell of a coincidence. Chrome said when Spaz Kid was streaming Among Us yesterday that apparently there was some suspicious activity going on about comments that were being deleted, and it wasn't by the mods. So it seems like maybe Susan's warriors were monitoring the stream and taking care of it themselves. And it really struck me as funny when she said that, because when I looked at that stream, when it went live to the channel, when the video of the stream went live, it was the first Among Us stream we've ever had that had the yellow dollar sign. So in other words, it was limited ad availability. So something was going on in that stream yesterday. There's no reason for an Among Us game to have limited ads. So something was going on there. Who knows what freaking Susan's doing now? Cutie says gender studies are gay, and I'm trans saying that. Well, see, that's what I've always said with something like that, Cutie, is you just got to be a realist. If if somebody wants to go get a gender studies degree, go ahead. But have a realistic outlook of what you can expect to make with that degree. How many places are there that you can go out and market that degree and make some money? Now, if you're going to turn around and say, but that's what my interest is in, that's fine. But don't be shocked when you're relegated to fields that aren't going to pay you an awful lot, because it's not an economically viable degree. It's not something that people with money are looking for. It just is what it is. You can dislike it all you want, but it's just the facts. Johnny says, as an E6, my basic pay is about $43K a year before taxes. We are paid well, but we're not rolling the money like some people think. No, and the thing of it is, again, we're talking about the specifics of a job. You're in a job where quite clearly at any given moment, your life can be on the line, as opposed to working at McDonald's, where you can go ahead and get half of the orders you fill wrong and have no interest in what you're doing, but they need bodies so bad that you just keep the job anyway. That's how the system works. And again, anybody that's envious of what Johnny's making, it's not that hard to get in the military. Get after it. If you're envious of the amount of money they make. Dalton says you should move this live stream to Twitch. Why, Dalton? I just don't. It's going along good here. Susan Simp's out here crusading. Oh, you mean because of what I was talking about? Well, as far as that individual incident there that went on yesterday, Twitch has their share of problems too over there. Okay, let me catch up here. Susan's full of shit, Patrick says. Yeah, well, imagine they started timing people out as well. Yeah, Big Green. It struck me as a hell of a coincidence when Chrome told me that yesterday, and that one came up yellow, because I don't even file a counterclaim on him or anything. I don't give a fuck. I just to a degree, I just let Susan do whatever she wants. But it did strike me as odd, because we've never had an Among Us gameplay go to the channel and be marked as limited ads. Why would you? Let's see. Simply Ruckus says, do you believe the rich should pay more taxes? You got to be more specific, Ruckus. I believe that corporations should pay more taxes. The rich people, if you look up the numbers, the rich people in America pay the huge percentage of all income taxes that are paid here in America. Is there room to tax them a little more? I don't know. I have to look into it deeper to see if I'm comfortable with it. But the lacking is the corporation taxes. Corporations do not pay enough taxes. If you wanted to, if you feel like individuals, rich individuals, are where you want to get more tax money from to try and finance whatever it is you want to do, I don't think you can get that much more from them without raising their tax rates to a level that I personally would find to be criminal. I don't believe in taxing anybody at an exorbitant rate. I don't think the government has a right to, 70, 75% or more of anybody's money that they earned legally at any time. But I believe that the big failing is in the corporate tax structure. Those are the ones that are getting away with not paying their fair share far more than, the rich individuals.
Oh,
Wolverine says, when does
yeah.
the mod Discord go live? I'm not in it. Oh, we got rid of that idea, Wolverine. There was all kinds of consternation about that, and I just got rid of that idea. I'm going to figure something else out. Daniel says, Wolverine's stream boss now. Hey, Curtis, what would you do if Bernie shitter coughs? Sorry, Bernie. Sorry, can't say it without. What would you do if Bernie, last name fucking redacted, became president? I would not be happy, Daniel, just for the reasons I outlined. Bernie is the antithesis of what I believe, in that I don't want government taking our money as individuals in large quantities so they can determine how to best redistribute it. No, again, I'm going to vote for Trump. If Joe Biden wins, Joe Biden as president wins, that's not that big a deal to me. My concern is that Joe Biden doesn't get too heavily influenced by the extremists in his party, because they seem to have had a significant amount of pull on some prominent members of the Democratic Party, and that's where my nervousness comes in. If I knew Joe Biden was going to be able to legislate and govern the way that Joe Biden says he wants to, I'm still going to vote for Trump, but I'm not going to be devastated if Biden wins. It's just like the two times Obama won. I voted for Obama over McCain, and then I went right into the voting booth when it was Romney versus Obama, still unsure of who I was going to vote for, and I went for Romney, but that was because it was so close. The determining factor for me was, for whatever else, I'm not a big fan of Romney as a person. I never liked him all that much, but I do think he's an economic genius. And at that time in the country, I think that was something we could really use. So that's what did it. But it was a case of Obama being around. I was like, yeah, it's okay, And again, I'm going to vote for Trump. If Biden wins, I'll be like, okay, Biden won, and then I'll just cross my fingers that he governs the way that he wants to govern, and he isn't too heavily influenced by the extremists of his party. That's where I'll be. And again, I'm still one of these people. I know this isn't the common way things are done now. Whoever's president, I'm going to root for them to do well. Even if we're Sanders, you got to root for the president to do well. I would do anything I could in any way, shape, or form I could to try and stop him from implementing a lot of his plans that would take substantial amounts of our money out of our pockets so he could take it, he being the government, and redistribute it. But I don't see any gain in ever rooting for a president to fail. I don't see where that works. Oink says, the food talk makes my mouth water more than a flood capable of drowning many innocents. Johnny says, well, fast food workers are taking a huge risk with getting burned with hot grease, so maybe they deserve 60 an hour or whatever they're demanding. Well, that's what I mean, Johnny. I mean, you're a perfect example. Johnny, for those who don't know, Johnny is in the military. I don't understand how somebody can be envious of what someone makes in the military, because you can join. They're getting paid what the government feels is equitable for what they're doing, which in many instances is putting their lives at risk. If you're making substantially less, as somebody had pointed out, as a stocker at Walmart or something, go join the military. Go get a piece of the pie. I mean, it's not that complicated. Rick Brito's here. Chrome, Lude screenshotted YouTube removing comments. I can show the screenshot in our Discord if you're interested. Oh, I'll try to remember to go over there, Chrome. Yeah, I would be very interested to see that. And it goes, like I say, Chrome, it went hand in hand with getting a yellow dollar sign for the first time on an Among Us live stream. So something was going on. Who knows what the hell Susan's doing now. And the thing is, if I question them about it, you know what they'll say? Again, YouTube's 5-year-olds. Nah, I didn't do it. But no, we have evidence here. I've got, you see, there's a screenshot. Nope, we didn't do that. Well, what about the picture? I don't know. We didn't do that. That's how YouTube basically responds to you whenever you ask them anything like, why are you not sending out notifications to people that have the bell ticked and blah blah blah. We do. Well, no, a bunch of my people came to me individually and complained that they aren't getting notified. No, they're wrong. We did. So how do you even argue with that? That's a simple joke, Jester, but I like it. In its simplicity. What's red and bad for your teeth? A brick. That's pretty good. I like that. Dalton says, I don't agree with packing the court, but 3 is a lot of justices. Yeah, I don't agree with packing the court either, and I stand by that no matter which way it goes. And see, the courts for me, the ball's up in the air anyway, because the main issues with the court, I fall on both sides of. So I don't have one side or the other when it comes to that. I'm very pro Second Amendment, so I like the conservatives for that. I am very much pro-choice, so I like the liberals for that. So, I mean, it can go either way for me. And given that, I don't like the idea. There are going to be, in any system, there are going to be times when, just by the nature of how the Supreme Court works with lifetime appointments, that things are going to happen like what just happened here. RBG passes away, and you got a conservative president appointing a third justice.
Yeah.
It can just as easily fall the other way. It just is what it is. I'm not for adding seats to it every time a specific party doesn't like the makeup of the court. Where does that end? Check Soder's last comment, Wolverine says. Okay, let me see if I can find Soder. Soder, where you go, bro? Oh, there it is, right there. I almost went by it. There was a misunderstanding about how that server would be used, but I think the Discord mods will be fine with after fixing the misunderstanding. Yeah, like I say, if I get time, to be honest with you guys, I'll revisit it, but it's rough on me when I'm trying to set time aside to do things. I get something all set up, and then there's all kinds of issues about it. It's much easier for me to drop it because I just don't have the time to keep putting into back and forths about it. I'm mainly disappointed with Trump's COVID response, Rosa says. Absolutely, his COVID response could have been better. I don't think it's as abysmal as everyone said. Is what he said he was doing with downplaying it to not panic people. I don't think that is the best way to go about things, but I could see it in the moment. A lot of us made mistakes. A lot of doctors made mistakes. A lot of people made mistakes with COVID. He did make a significant amount of mistakes. So if you think that he made enough mistakes that he has lost the opportunity to gain your vote, that's perfectly legitimate. It's absolutely legitimate. I don't think he was so egregious about it all that it harmed my ability to vote for him at all. But someone feeling the other way it's understandable. Thomas says, "Oh, Susan is basically Hillary Clinton. We have video of you." That's not me. Yeah, pretty much, Thomas. Yeah. Oh, wait a second though. Susan can't suicide me, can she? Maybe I don't. Chrome. Maybe I hadn't better look at that picture. Yeah, Chrome. Put it up there in the Discord, or even shoot it to me at the Goosh, because I check Goosh comments constantly. So if you think of it, shoot it to me over there too. Or
Oh yeah.
you could even put it in, because I don't think we can send pictures in the private messages there. You can even put it in the community tab at the Goosh. Ocho, gotta go, Curtis. Don't forget to drink the new RB. Thanks for being in while you could, Ocho. No, I agree, Patrick. I am anti conspiracy theory through and through. The gang here will tell you that. But Patrick says Epstein didn't kill himself. Of course he didn't kill himself. I mean, as I've always said, if you think Epstein killed himself, that would be a conspiracy theory because there's just no way. Given the circumstances, there's just no way. Jack says, if you got that video of me getting peed on, then send it to me, then delete, please. Thank you. Lute says, oh, yeah, so that Google moderator thing happened. I assume Curtis. Yeah, Chrome told me about it, Lute. Showed me about it yesterday. And I was telling the gang here, Lute, before Chrome even told me about that, I thought it was odd because that is the first Among Us stream, I think the first gaming stream outside of a violent game that we've had ever went live to the channel with the yellow dollar sign with the limited ads on it. So, right, somebody was clearly in here. And Susan, it's Wojcicki, isn't it, Daniel? I think that's how you pronounce her last name. Not that I care if I pronounce it wrong, to be honest with you, but I think it's Wojcicki, right? The country falls apart. I'm taking over the Georgia and South Carolina area and forming an elective monarchy. Oh, well, talk more to me about that, Hennessy. I might be willing to come on down. I'm gonna say this wrong. I'll call you Joe because I don't want to mispronounce your name. I have an idea. Curtis for president. Let's take over. Goose goose. Yeah, that will be our campaign slogan too, Joe. Goose goose. Simple, concise, right to the point. Yeah, Rick says, no, guys, he obviously killed himself. The Clintons never lie about anything. Sobada's asking you, Johnny. I think Johnny's still here, isn't he? He says, how do you feel about you, Johnny, about Trump considering you're a military member? Also, thanks for your service, bud. So just watch Sobada. If Johnny's in here, he'll respond to you. Because I'll read it if I see it. I may miss it. It's pronounced Wojcicki, is it? I never knew how it was pronounced exactly. Wojcicki. Is that Polish? Because some of the Polish people I know have the weirdest pronunciations as per the alphabetical structure of their name as anybody I've ever seen. Lute says, I will point out I did think at first one of the mods just renamed themselves as a joke, but I tried to tag them and nobody with that name was showing up. It was a prank, fair play, but I doubt it. Again, Lute, I would really doubt it now. It seems awful suspicious that video, and it was immediately. Hey, Dave and Jonah are here. Immediately, as soon as it went up on the channel, it was already limited ads. Susan Pornovinsky. I'll tell you guys, though, here's one for you. I have a coworker. I haven't seen him in years now. Back when I worked in the transportation department in a local city. His first name was Matt. Good guy. His last name, I'm going to give you the spelling. If you want to try and phonetically type out how you think it was pronounced, go ahead. He spelled it. Here it is. G-W-O-Z-D-Z. Any guesses on how that's pronounced? It's the weirdest pronunciation I've heard yet of a name for me. G-W-O-Z-D-Z. Polish name. And if you're even interested, try and spell it out phonetically how you think it'd be pronounced. Considering the stream got yellow dollar, I don't think it was somebody doing a joke. Right, Big Green. That's because it really struck me odd when Chrome sent me that message because it's like, oh, shit. You know, something had to be up because that never happens. Okay, here's Johnny's answer. Well, I've never liked Trump as a person, but I have no opinion on him politically. I'm as apolitical as it gets. Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate you answering them. Yes, Gwozdzz, Poppy. God, it's pronounced Guadzes. Guado. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. The English, Glude's guessing Guazd. That's where I was thinking it was roughly when he first applied. And we saw the name. That's what I was thinking. That was my guess. Was something similar to that. Was Guazd, I was thinking. Gone says you shit yourself trying to say my last name. Really, Gone? You got a good one too? Yeah. And Krusty's saying the same thing as Guads. Guashed, Big Green says. It's pronounced old skilled worker. Actually, he was quite skilled. He was good. He was a mechanic. Okay, well, I'll give it to you. The official English pronunciation of the last name Gwozdzz is Gabush. It's pronounced like G hyphen bush, gabush. How the hell? And Matt swears, he says, yeah, he says, I don't understand it either. He said, but that is how that word translates. That was the weirdest one I've ever heard. Rosa says he wants me to vote mail while he's checking or not vote. He literally is locking me up just to stop me from voting. Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking to Oink. I'm sorry. Chrome's last name is pretty simple. Yeah, mine too, Chrome. Yeah, it doesn't get much more mundane than Williams. Unless you're Smith or Jones, or Johnson, it doesn't get more mundane than that. Yeah, Gabush, Missy Meow. Yep. That was GWOZDZ is pronounced Gabush. Gabush, yes. Johnny said, I'm going to the court right now and getting my name changed. Good Bush. Good Bush, now that would be a tantalizing name. All right, guys. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go. One of them, so trying to see Bulma's titties. Oh, no. Oh, I'll be looking forward to that, Milog. I think we did talk about that in the past, though. Yeah, but, well, any titties are good titties for me. Guys, thank you for hanging out with me. Chrome, I'll go look right over at the Gooch right as soon as I get done here. I'll try and put that in to remember. Thank you for the stream. I really enjoy these conversations we have. And the thing is, I learn a lot. I get a lot of new perspectives doing these, and I really enjoy that. I'll try and get an Among Us gameplay going really soon as well. And then more chat streams. These are what you guys voted in hugely, are to do the chat streams and the interactive gaming streams. So we'll be doing a lot of that. Thank you guys again for hanging out with me. I can't tell you how much enjoyment I get out of this. So much so that even though today's sticky stuff is Monday, it's not a bad Monday sticky stuff. If we acquiesce that Free for All Fridays are solid 10s, and that's only because 10 is the cap. They're actually about 27s. If they're solid 10s, today's sticky stuff is a good 4.3. Now that's good because Monday sticky stuff averages about 3. This is very important stuff for those who don't know. The important stuff, sticky stuff. I made it funny. This is very important stuff. So it is a little above average sticky stuff today. So, get out your official sticky stuff fanny packs. Have them open because in a pinch, you might want to revisit the sticky stuff. Here it comes. Pamfu, pamfu. Sticky stuff, sticky stuff. Sticky stuff for everybody. Sticky stuff for you. Sticky stuff for you. Little Monday sticky stuff. It'll get better as the week goes on, I promise. Might have a little dip on Wednesday, but pretty much it'll get better during the week because we'll bang, okay? Flashly like Buggy. And as always, most importantly, even on exceptional Mondays, goosh, 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 goosh. Goosh.